evening. Hi, I'm Mark Bradley. I am everyone on the internet as Bradle. So just to keep you all nice and awake, I like a little bit of our audience participation during this talk. So we'll start off with that. It's really easy, it's just hands in the air. Hands in the air if you have heard of imposter syndrome before. Majority, cool. Well, keep your hands up. And then put your hands down if you have not suffered with imposter syndrome. Cool. See, so if you heard of it, so there are a few of you who didn't put your hands up. So I'll tell you what imposter syndrome is. It's a psychological phenomenon where your brain convinces you that you are not responsible for your achievements, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The fact that you have a job, the fact you may have had many jobs, the fact that your colleagues and your boss tells you you're quite good at your job, and the fact you've never been sacked. Okay? So, I want to talk to you about it tonight, because about 18 months ago, I'd never heard of imposter syndrome. What I did know is I was really miserable at work. Really wasn't enjoying it, because I didn't feel like I could do the job that I love. I've been doing it for 10 years, and before that I spent 4 years at university, so you can see, it was all of a sudden, I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I was angry at work, I was grumpy at home, I wasn't a very nice person to be around, and just at work I was always in fear that someone would suddenly realise I couldn't do the job that I love. I even considered leaving. That's why I want to talk to you about it, so I want to make sure everyone knows about it, so if they start feeling like this, they know it's not that they're not good at their job, it's just their mind playing tricks on them. So when I suddenly found out about imposter syndrome, I can't really remember how. I just assumed it was quite rare, but as you can see from the people who put their hands up, it's actually really common. I put a survey out when I started doing this talk to find out how common it was. And about a quarter of people hadn't ever suffered from imposter syndrome. I don't know if those people hadn't heard of it before, but really common, and that's just in our industry. So I just asked friends who program. I just started asking people why they suffered, and I started looking at why I thought I was suffering with imposter syndrome. And there were lots of different reasons that I found I was suffering and other people were suffering with imposter syndrome. One good one, and it's really easy to do, is comparing ourselves to others. We can compare ourselves to others in lots of different ways at work. How you learn to program. So a lot of people were going, well, I'm self-taught. How can I be as good a programmer as someone that's, I don't know, gone off and done some course or been to college? And someone that maybe finished at college learning to program, how can I compare to someone that went off to university and studied computer science and knows all of the design patterns and things? And like I said, I spent 4 years at university learning computer science, and some days I wonder how I can be as good as someone that's managed to teach themselves this. It took, quite a lot of money for me to be taught how to be as good as I thought I was. And there's people who can teach themselves and do amazing things. One of the big problems I had was I moved to a new job and we started getting contractors in. I've never really worked with contractors before. I've been a permit all my life, didn't move jobs very often, and so didn't really change my tech stack, and didn't start to learn really any new skills, because obviously when you're in a job, you don't really suddenly start changing databases very often, you don't start changing frameworks very often, you don't start suddenly picking up TDD if you don't do it. And I started working with these contractors who were doing, they're moving every 3, 6, 9 months, moving to a new company, moving to a new tech stack, learning and getting all this commercial experience that seems so important on job applications. I just didn't know how I could compete with these people, with their kind of very quick succession between new tech stacks. Who here is the office junior, or who here remembers being the office junior? When you look up to those amazing people, those senior developers, those leads. I remember doing that, being really kind of like, they're really good. And the secret you need to know about senior developers is their job isn't to write the awesomest code every day. Their job is to take the junior developers and the people that are more junior in the team and bring them up to the same standard by pairing or coaching or mentoring. So you shouldn't ever be fearful or feel that you're not good enough because you're working with a senior developer that does these amazing codes. So different skill sets was a really common thing. People that maybe kind of tended towards the front end and didn't quite understand some of those back-end technologies. They were kind of worried that, because they didn't know everything about everything, they didn't know, they worried they wouldn't be able to be as productive as their boss or their company needed it to be. That's why we work in teams. Everyone has their strengths, and you put a team of people together who work together and can develop a thing rather than have one super programmer who does everything. People like to hate on other technologies. If you're a Ruby guy, you hate Java. If you're Java, you hate PHP, or everyone hates PHP. They all, everyone jokes about a programming language they decide they don't like. I spent a long time wondering, can I be a good programmer if my tool set is treated as a joke? It took me long to realise, it doesn't matter what tool set you use, as long as you practice and try to be the best you can be with what you're using, it doesn't matter, you're good at your job. There's a great thing about this career we've decided to go down. There's so much to learn, but it can get really scary. When I started really suffering with imposter syndrome, I started writing a list. A few of the things from that list are on here. To give you an idea how ridiculous the list was, it had subsections. So it had like databases, and then every database ever, and I felt that I had to know how to use these. Because obviously you need to know and be an expert in these things. Because how do you know when you're going to use the right tool for the right job? It took me a really long time to realise one of the most unhealthy things I was doing was reading blog posts and noting down all of the technologies, or going to meetups and noting down all the technologies I needed to learn. So it's just like this to-learn list for everything. You should just put the internet on my list. But it kind of was one of the things that really drove, because when you've got an ever-growing list of technology that you have to know to be an expert, to be that super programmer, you can never keep up. It took me a long time to throw this list away, and I still start a list like it every so often. I found coping techniques that stop me doing that. I'll mention those later. Stereotypically, we are not known for our communication skills. Between the other departments in the office, we are the weird ones with stickers on our laptops who talk in acronyms. And I don't think we do a great job at communicating between our own teams, in our own teams. A bit more audience participation. Who here has recently had an unconstructive code review where someone has maybe pointed out a bug update, that's fair enough, but then just had a moan about coding standards and not really giving you anything constructive? Come on. Recently, yeah. It happens. And it's not very good. It doesn't help anybody. We should improve that. Okay. Who here has had some constructive feedback from their boss or their peers recently? Not a hand up at the back, on the back. Okay. Not an actual, yeah, you're good, but we really like what you're doing, but if you looked at this would really improve. No one for the camera. No one for that. So, cool. The thing I think it really comes down to that drives us to feel like we're not good at our job is our passion for our job. We turn up at meetups. It's that long-range joke. I'm a programmer. I spend all day programming. What do you do when you get home? Oh, I go home and program. What do you do on the train home? I read about programming. We're really passionate. We want to be the best we can be at our job. But the passion for doing the best we can do can drive us to start comparing ourselves to others. It can drive us to start writing that list. I want to be great. I want to be a really good programmer. I'm going to write a list of things I have to do to be a really good programmer. Who's had a list like that? Who's had a list that's completely unachievable like that? Yeah. So, those are the kind of big things that I feel really cause imposter syndrome. Now I'm going to go through a few of the things that can trigger those feelings to start. Big one for me is meetups and conferences. I love meetups and conferences. They're a great way to learn, but they're also a great way to start that list. You go to a conference, as a one-day conference, you can see 6 talks. 2-day conference, you can see 12 talks. That's at least 12 new technologies to add to your list. Not only that, it's a great way to start comparing yourself to others, because you're going to sit in that first talk. We just saw a great talk about Zen expression, and now you're seeing another talk. And if you're at a conference, you see another talk, and you hear about all these amazing technologies. They can start becoming overwhelming. Things you've got to remember when you're, especially at conferences, and you're seeing lots of talks, is you'll see the first talk of the day, and you'll be inspired to learn that new technology, and you'll think, that was amazing, that's a really good talk, that guy's an expert on that talk, that subject. That person will be in the second talk that you're watching, learning at the same time as you. It's the reason speakers talk, it's because they want to go to conferences to hear more talks. One of the reasons. So don't be overwhelmed by the speakers. They will have the expertise. They've spent a long time practicing that talk, getting it ready. They wouldn't be able to give every talk of the day. They won't be an expert in every subject you'll hear that day. But that sort of thing can go in your mind. And you can start thinking, wow, these people that talk, they could just do any talk. They could give the next talk and the next talk. It takes a long time to write talk. Most speakers are just inspired by something they learned at work and just want to share it. They're not there to scare you. Things that should just work. How many times has there things that should just work, make our lives easier? Things like Vagrant, they hit me all the time. But when they don't work, I can't be a good programmer. I had a problem a couple of months ago. Vagrant up, and nothing worked. Worked on everyone else's computer. Was checking out the same version of the code. Quietly, Vagrant destroyed. I'll just try again in case I missed something. So, Vagrant up. No, still not working. Looked about, looked at the settings, kept poking about. Can't ask for help. People will realise that I'm not good at my job. Turns out, it was the difference between how Vagrant runs on a Mac and how Vagrant runs in Ubuntu. Not my fault at all, but that thing that should just work, should make my life easier, had me sitting there for a day, not feeling productive, not feeling confident about my ability to do my job. If you get stuck, ask for help. It's why we work in teams. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Okay, more audience participation time. Who here, when they're applying for jobs, have ever done this one? You see the job spec, we had some job specs going up earlier. You've got everything. You've got the same, they use the same framework that you're really experienced with. They use the same version of a database you're really experienced with. They do everything you want to do. And you think, I can do this, I can do all this, I'm fine. But then you see the company name. And you think, oh, they do amazing stuff. They'd never hire me. Who's done it? Or, oh, they have that person. They'd never hire me. I can't be like that person. I do it every time. Every time I'm applying for jobs. And it's awful. Because, you sit there and go, you could do the job. I have one bit of advice, and it comes from my wife. And she says that every time I do this when I'm moving jobs, what's the worst that can happen? And the worst that can happen is they say no and don't give you any constructive feedback. After that, they say no and give you some constructive feedback. But then there's the best that can happen. They decide that actually, yes, they want you. So never are they going to put your CV on Reddit and go, look at this idiot, you thought you could work for us. Never are they going to put it up in their office canteen and go, thought he was good enough for us. These are professional people. It's okay. The best they can do is go, yes, come on down. You're awesome. We'd love to work with you. And then you're working for that company that has inspired you or you've always wanted to work for. So who's next time they're looking for a job is going to just go, the worst they can do is say no. Just send that CV. Good. I'm not looking for a job, but I can't tell you I'm going to do it because I don't know. I'll try. Imposter syndrome can affect people's ability to do their job in different ways. There are some people that can recognise that they're feeling like they can't do it, they don't know what they're doing. They can go away, get a cup of tea, move away from whatever is causing that problem and go back to work maybe 20 minutes later. And that's great. But there are some people that get affected by something called developer paralysis. Do you know what developer paralysis is? Kind of when you basically get stuck, you don't know how to start. And if you don't believe in your ability to do your job, how can you trust what you're planning to start programming? It can cause a really horrible cycle because if you don't trust what you're doing, you might start it and go, it's not good enough, and throw it away. Who's done that? Who's done that more than twice? It can get really, if you're not trusting your ability to do it, and you're not trusting your ability to do your job, then you're going to start worrying that people are going to notice that I'm not delivering quick enough. So I'll start getting in early, and I'll start, doing the same at 6 o'clock in the morning and throwing work away rather than getting in at 9 and being productive. Now I'll start working later, or I'll start doing this at home. And it can really kind of spiral. And a few people have really spiraled when you kind of get tired, and because you're tired, you can just feel like your decisions are even worse and worse. And it can really kind of affect people. I kind of got to that situation myself. Right, now I've spent a good while making you remember how miserable it can feel. It's okay, there is hope. People cope with this, and now I'm going to talk you through some coping strategies that I've used and other people have recommended for handling the feeling of imposter syndrome. The first one is knowing about it. The reason I want to give this talk is the reason I try to tell people that imposter syndrome exists, so that they know that it's not just them, it's an actual thing. You're not bad at your job, it's just your horrible brain going, ha ha ha, I make you feel bad today. So, knowing. Once I realised that it was imposter syndrome I was suffering with, and not the fact that I was bad at my job, I decided that I did want to at least get better at doing my job. I sat down and decided what I wanted to do was improve. So I decided to go back to basics. I started reading all those books that you have to read, rereading in some cases, design patterns and clean code, and just trying to kind of work out what I wanted for my career. And I realised it was basically I just want to be the best coder I can be. And that's probably what everyone wants to do. But it's comparing yourself to others, or going, I just want to be as good as that guy. So once you're as good as that guy, where do you go? You should always just aim to be the best you can be. So I just decided that I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to do TDD, that was my target. I wanted to do really good, like proper TDD, write the test, write the code. So I started reading about that. And I wanted to put this into practice to prove that I could do this job still. So I started playing with code katas. Who here knows what a code kata is? Okay, a couple of you. So for those of you who don't, a code kata comes from the word of martial arts. A kata is part of martial arts where you go over and over a routine of punches and kicks, and you just work it until you got it perfect. You keep working over and over that routine. And a code kata is similar. You take a small task and you complete that task over and over again. really small. So the one I really enjoy doing is a Roman numeral converter. It's a really tiny function. You put a string in that looks like it might be a Roman numeral, and it kicks out an integer. And the idea is you just go over this task again and again, probably every day, every morning. First of all, you will have to kind of sit. For the first week, you might sit there and go, okay, I've got to work out, okay, if I do take the first digit and then basically work out how to solve the problem. But once you've solved the problem and that's in your head, then you're learning, then the real learning starts. You start learning new tricks in your IDE to make your life easier. You start learning about little features of the testing framework you're using that make it quicker to write a test. You start playing with a new mocking library because it makes life easier. And you just improve slowly, day by day. You learn a new thing every day, and you just become better at what you want to do. And that's really good. I highly recommend you go and have a go and start trying with it. A lot of developers use it as like a warm-up in the morning to get their mind working. That was really cool, but one of the things I worried about was that's a small thing, and I wanted to start learning about how to tie bigger bits of code together, tie it to projects and do it properly, and start playing with these ideas like DDD that I've been reading about. So I needed a bigger code cutter. Back to job applications again. I started hunting down fun recruitment tests. So when you're not under the stress of looking for a job, it turns out those tests that they give out on for recruitment are really good fun. They're designed to take like 3 hours if you're steaming through trying to apply for a job. But when you've got all the time in the world because you're not looking for a job, they're really good fun, and they're a really good way to put your skills to the test because they'll be looking for quite interesting features. They'll come up with interesting ideas, so it's not a boring task. And it saves you coming up with ideas yourself. So if you want to play with ideas and how to structure or how to do testing or anything like that, maybe look at grabbing friends or your own company's recruitment test and have a play with it. If you want, I did a few where I just did the same task, but I tried a different framework. So I wanted to play with a framework, or I wanted to try a different way of testing it. They're really good. If you want to find some, I started adding a GitHub repo because open source everything. So if you want to try and have a play with one, then if you work for a company and have an interesting one, please feel free to submit it. Cool. So one of the big recommendation things was distractions. These people that can recognise those feelings and go off and find something to distract them. It might just be going and grabbing a cup of coffee. A lot of people like to do something that makes them feel clever again, or make their mind work, but might work on something different. So a lot of people like to go away and maybe do a Sudoku or do a crossword or something to keep their mind active and working, but not take their mind off that problem that was starting to make them feel like they didn't know what they were doing. So this one's a new one. This one came from Jeremy Coates' recommendation. The 30-minute rule, and I love this. So we've got a load of apprentices at work. I've just told them this is their new rule. The 30-minute rule. If you can't work out how to solve a problem in 30 minutes, you're not going to solve it in 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. After 30 minutes, it's your job to go and find someone to help you. It's really simple. And also, if you bring this into your company, then that going and asking for help and people realizing you don't know what you're doing goes away, because everyone's asking for help every day. It's fine. So it's a really good one. Definitely start using that. I only found out about it about 2 weeks ago. So, really good way. Again, a lot of people go, oh, how do I make people feel comfortable at work without overtly doing things? This is a great one, because you just go, New rule, guys, 30 minutes, if you're stuck, ask for help. And then no one feels like they're being picked on, or no one, that's a problem. So we're going to improve our communication skills. I think this will help everyone. We're going to give people constructive feedback. At the end, I'm going to put up a slide that's going to go, give me feedback on LinkedIn. That's me going, I want to get better at doing these talks, I want to get better at speaking. It's just like, there's nothing wrong with giving people constructive feedback at work. Go in conversation over lunch or over a cup of coffee, you talk about things, and just make recommendations. Go, oh yeah, this book really helped me, why don't you go and read it? That's okay. Or if someone's asking you how they're doing, don't just go, yeah, you've done a good job. It's okay to go, do you know what, I think you'd really benefit from reading about this, or going and playing with this. It's okay. Most people you work with won't bite your head off for giving them constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is completely okay, but because we're a bit introverted, we don't really like to do it. It's really okay. Let's give better code reviews. Okay? So, if you're looking at a bit of code review, if you're doing code review and you're looking at something, and you kind of go, don't quite get what that's doing, don't quite understand it, ask what it's doing. Because one of two things is going to happen. That person is going to go, oh, well, I was reading this book and I came across this thing and I done this, and you suddenly go, oh, that's amazing, and you go and read that blog post and you've learned something. Or you're going to find a bug, but it's okay to ask questions if you don't understand things in code reviews. A code review is not just for someone to have a moan about the coding standards. In fact, we shouldn't be doing that nowadays. We've got things that do it for us. Code reviews should be about learning. Both sides, so the reviewer and the reviewee, should both be able to learn something from a code review. And there is nothing wrong with, if you see something that really makes you smile in code, like, oh, I like that, then just add a comment. How many people like to get a compliment once in a while? If you just want to get just a little smiley face, or, oh, that's a really nice idea. Great confidence boost. It's okay to use code review to just, give some feedback in any way. Positive, negative, it's all great. If you can, I don't know how many companies allow this, but pair programming is a great way to get instant feedback on the code you're writing. Again, if you can't do it at work, then maybe you find someone here that you want to sit and work with. Pick one of those recruitment tests and have a play. It's a great way of getting instant feedback on everything you do, your thought process. You can sit and discuss things and learn things. Or pick an open source project and contribute back to an open source project as a pair. Nothing wrong with it. Again, you get to learn something new. You'll both learn something new. Someone, even if it's just a silly thing like, do you know your IDE does that? And you go, oh, that's going to save me about half an hour every day. Simple things, learning from others. So, mentoring. Hands up, who's heard of PHP mentoring? A few people. Okay. So phpmentoring.org is a great thing. It's a website where you can register and you can offer to mentor or coach people. So I'm on it, and people go on there and they are willing to give their time to you for free to have a Skype chat, meet you in person, just email you once in a while, and guide you through something you want to learn. I think most things to do with PHP, there's someone there, whether it's a specific framework or a testing tool, or even if you want career advice or someone to help you to write your first technical talk. It's all there, and it's great, and it's free. So if you're looking to learn something new, maybe you've got no one at work that can help you with it, go there, because having someone, if you know someone might email you in the week going, how's it going learning this? And it's a really good motivator, just having someone going, or just guiding you in the right direction. Sometimes when you're trying to learn something new, it's knowing where to start or where to find the best information. And mentoring is really good for that. feel up to it, what you could do, don't put yourself on there. You will have a skill that someone else will be looking to learn. And when you help someone, it feels really good. It's a really good confidence boost. And again, it doesn't have to be through PHP mentoring. It could be someone you work with. Say you work with someone that does this really cool thing with a cool framework, you don't understand it. Then just go, can we just spend like an hour or two, maybe this evening, I'll buy you a beer, and you teach me how to do that. You know, it doesn't have to be formal, it doesn't have to be for a long time, it could just be for a day or an hour. But just someone to guide you. Meetups and conferences. I know I said about them causing imposter syndrome, but they are a great way to also inspire you to learn new things and help you to continue your development. So, you know it, you're here. I'll skip that slide. Cool. I started blogging. If you remember way back at the start, I said there were those contractors who knew everything, and how was I going to keep up with them? Well, one day I was at work having a conversation with them, and I mentioned about inheritance mapping in Doctrine. It's a really nice little feature, and I really like it. I think it's really cool. They both looked at me and gone, never heard of it. I had that dawning realization, there is something that I know that other people don't. I should share this. So I started writing a blog post about it, and wrote a little blog post, and I published it. I don't think anyone's ever read it. I don't get many comments on my blog. But every so often, I write a new blog post, and I publish it, and I feel good. Because actually, I've learned something myself. Then I go and spend a little bit more time working out really how it works. And I write a blog post, a GitHub repo to it, and I put it out there, and I feel good. And again, it comes back to that sharing. There is something that you'll do at work that you just find interesting. Write a blog post about it. Every time I publish, I get a little bit of feeling like I can do this. I am doing my job. So I went back, going back to that horrible list I had, I used my blog to control it. Because if I want to learn some new technology now, I made a deal with myself, I have to blog about it. It's a really good way to control the list, because I can't have, 50, 100, 1,000 unpublished, half-started, title then the word to do in the body of a blog post. So I use it to control my list writing problem. So there's one. If you don't like writing about it, try speaking about it. You've got these 5-minute learning talks at the start of every meetup you have, which is a great way to start. How many people have done a talk on anything? Okay, most of you, cool. How many people have thought about it? Okay. How many people have used an interesting composer package in the last 2 months that just made your life easier? Just one of you. Okay, 2 people. Okay. But it could be as simple as that. So I went to a learning talk 2 weekends ago, and it was just about a package called Handcrest. And the guy just wanted to share it because it made his life easier. And now it's made my life easier because I've now installed it, and but I'll explain, sorry. Handcrest is it's basically a way of making your tests more expressive so they're easier to read. It's really, and I'd never heard of it. So if you do something at work and you come across something, you could write a blog post about it, or you could come and spend 5 minutes talking about it and make everyone else's life easier. You don't have to do an hour slot. You don't have to apply to conferences. Lots of conferences do unconferences, where you basically lightning talks where you just sign up on a day. If you want to give it a go, give it a go. It's a really great way to help other people, and it's a really great way to kind of realize that you can do things. And you might get to go to conferences for free, which always helps. And And one of the secrets is, for those people that have given talks, who gets the massive adrenaline rush at the end of giving a talk? Like, it's great. Like, you know, it's the closest as a developer you can get to being a rock star is standing up and talking about code. So, I think it's all about balancing. I don't ever want to move away from the fact that I feel I can do better in my job. And that was my real big problem, is I wanted to be, I wanted to be as good as I could be, but I was just oversetting my ambitions. So if you have that list, and it is as ridiculously long as mine, throw it away and start again. Find a way of controlling it. Promise yourself you'll write a blog post about it, or you'll give a lightning talk here about anything you want to learn. So you've really got to put the effort in and enjoy it. If you enjoyed this talk, I would highly recommend you check out Jessica Rose's Imposter Syndrome and Individual Competence talk. It's really, it's less of a personal angle on imposter syndrome, more of a technical angle. I forgot, I always forget to add the slide. She has a really good recommendation for getting over the feelings of having a bad day at work and those imposter syndrome feelings. I've not tried it yet, I really must try it. It's a really simple one. You go home, get a cupcake, you run a bath, lay in the bath, eat a cupcake. Sounds brilliant. So, you know, it can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be writing blog posts and things. Just finding things that make you start, you know, get past things. I talked to a lot of people after this talk, and I think one of my reasons for giving the talk is I want to share, I think we should share the problems we have as developers. Imposter syndrome is one of them. It's probably a reasonably mild one, but the people that work at open source and mental illness are doing some really important stuff and talking about some problems that really do affect us. If you haven't heard of it, go and check it out. They've got some really great advice. I think they just published a book in the last couple of days. I'm not associated with them anyway, but in any way, but I just think they do some amazing things. And I think, you know, talking about the problems we have and not just the technologies we're using and things is a really important thing. Cool. So, thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. Or if you want to talk about how you felt about it, being infected by imposter syndrome, so people in the room realise that I'm not the only one, I'm not making it up, it is a real thing, then again,